Hi, everybody. Today, we are having a lot of rain. We have some hurricanes coming our way in Hawaii this week and next week. And it's been a very hectic week for other reasons. So I'm a little in need of sleep and some relaxation and maybe a good book. But today I want to talk to you about dignity. And I want to start by telling you a little story. So I want you to imagine a sea turtle in the ocean, a big, vast ocean, and one graceful, beautiful, majestic sea turtle. And the sea turtle is swimming under the surface of the ocean. And on the surface of this big ocean is one hoop, one circle, let's say 4 or 5 feet in diameter. And it's made out of wood, so it'll float on the surface. And I want you to imagine, what are the chances of that one sea turtle surfacing in the center of that hoop, coming up for a breath and landing right in the center, coming right up through the center? The odds are very, very small. And I didn't make this story up. This is a story attributed to the Buddha. And he told this story to illustrate a point. And the point he was trying to illustrate is how precious and rare it is to be born as a human being. And he said that not because human beings are superior, not because they're better than any other living being on the planet, but because he wanted to remind people how special and precious and what an honor it is to be a human being. And I like this story because it's about dignity. And for me, dignity means that, among other things, that you are worthy of food, shelter, kindness, care, empathy, and not because of who you are in the world, but because of who you are. Just because you're here, you're worthy of dignity inherently, because you have feelings, because you have an intellect, because you are you. And your dignity is valuable. And I think that's what the Buddha was trying to say when he told this story. Like, it's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something to stroke your ego. It's kind of in the middle. So let me check my notes here. So what I want to talk about now is how our dignity is not honored. It's not protected in our culture as it is right now. And I think a lot of us, myself included, have gotten rather used to not having our dignity recognized and honored, and vice versa. And I want to tell you the story about this guy that I talked to recently. And he sees himself as very spiritual. He's had a lot of spiritual experiences. He's invested heavily in spiritual education and practices. But when we were talking, I got the impression he had lost touch with his dignity, and therefore he couldn't recognize my dignity. And that's like a really important point, because if you're not in touch with your dignity and you're not honoring your own dignity, it's hard to recognize it and connect to it in other people. And, you know, I have gone through periods of being disconnected from my own dignity. And here's a list of ways or parts of our culture that work against your dignity. Going to school. You know, school is a one-size-fits-all endeavor, and it's built to efficiently educate a lot of people at once. And it's not a place normally of dignity. It's a place of conformity. And perhaps conformity is the opposite of dignity, or forced conformity. Being a woman in patriarchy, man, you are gonna have your dignity assaulted every single day. You're gonna see, these images are gonna be held up to you, telling you what beauty is, telling you what makes you desirable to men in the culture, telling you, you know, what's not right about you, what you need to fix. It's like it comes at you from all angles. And this is true of men, not quite in the same way, but men lose their dignity in patriarchy too, because they're taught to be dominant and to compete and to control people and resources. And, you know, it's not really about their dignity as a human being, as a person with feelings, as a person with, their own unique potential. Being a person of color in the US, now more than ever, people of color are under assault. Their dignity is under assault, their physical beings as well. But, you know, those little microaggressions or the ignorance, that people have when they speak to people of color, because they haven't really looked at their conditioning. Being an employee, wow. Your dignity is often comes second to productivity, to profit, to the bottom line. being poor, you know, your basic needs for shelter, for food, for kindness, for care, for the resources to reach your potential. Those are the ways that poor people's dignity is assaulted every day by other classes of people looking down on poor people or telling them that being poor is their fault and that lacking resources, they should somehow pull it all together and wake up in the middle class. I'm not sure how you would do that, but that is an assault on people's dignity. Being uneducated and, you know, perhaps you've gone all the way, you know, through college, but were you educated to reach your potential or to fit into the culture? Were you educated to think critically, to contribute to the greater sustainable good? Being ill or being disabled, these people, their dignity is assaulted all the time. You know, if you're not like standing upright and contributing to society as it is, then, you know, you're kind of a throwaway. And that is an assault on dignity. And judging other people by your standards, that is an assault on that person's dignity. We all have our own path in life. We all have our own unique life to live. So when other people judge you by their standards, it's an assault on your dignity. And often, I mean, I've been like super judgmental, especially when I was younger. What I want to say about that is that a lot of times I didn't really understand the full circumstances. So I was making this judgment based on really limited knowledge. So those are the ways that your dignity can be under attack and chipped away at on a daily basis. And it's because we live in a hierarchy. And it's also because we live in a capitalist economy. And I'm not trying to like push any other kind of economy, but I will say that if capitalism isn't checked by other things, it just reduces people to what they can produce. And you're so much more than that. You know, that's an assault on your dignity. And because we have lived in this kind of hierarchy for centuries, we've learned to overcompensate for our loss of dignity with arrogance and entitlement and brutishness and being cavalier, like, you know, like pretending like you can't be hurt, being stoic. These are all substitutes for being able to be in touch with your own dignity and being able to honor the dignity of others. I've been struck lately by how much we invest in religion and spirituality and psychological therapies and even emotional intelligence. But we can still not be in touch with our dignity and honor it and honor it as a principle and honor it in other people. So there's a quote. The Buddha also has a lot of great quotes, and I'm not pushing Buddhism. I just, all the teachings of all of the prophets in the world, they all have amazing things to offer. So this quote is attributed to the Buddha. You can search the world over and never find anyone more worthy of your love than you yourself. And I love this quote because it lets you know that love begins right here with you loving you. It's like you love you and you do a good job of loving you, then you can love someone else. Then you can really love your community and your country and your world. And when I reflect on that quote, I'm reminded of, what it took for you and I to be here. From the Big Bang to the primordial soup, to plants and plankton, to dinosaurs and reptiles and mammals and primates, to being a human being. It wasn't easy. It was not easy. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of iteration to get to a human being. And the reason I bring that up is because you are worthy of dignity. Your dignity matters. And if you're interacting or out in your life on a daily basis and you feel those microaggressions and little assaults on your dignity, I totally get it. I feel them too. Sometimes I go home and I just want to cuddle. I just want to get in bed and, give myself empathy and kindness so that I can restore my dignity. And I will say, earlier in my life, in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, my dignity really took a bruising due to a lot of different very dramatic changes in my life, and developing my emotional intelligence has restored my dignity, and it's given me the tools to keep that connection with my dignity, to notice when it's in need of care, and living with your dignity intact is something to really be grateful for. And if you're into law of attraction, it really helps live in a vibration of well-being rather than scarcity. So that's what I have this week. I honor your dignity. I respect your dignity. Your dignity is inherent. You don't have to do anything for it. Just by virtue of being a human being, you have dignity. And we all can do our part to keep our dignity strong and to honor other people's dignity. So thank you for stopping by the Emotional Intelligence Show today. I have a show every week, Wednesday at 4 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. And if you want to learn more about developing your emotional intelligence, feel free to visit the website, theemotionalintelligenceschool.com. And there's a contact form on the tabs on the upper right, and you can send me an email and let me know what's on your mind. Aloha.